Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of My First Job. Every time we enter a five-star hotel, we struck by the opulence, the decor, the design, and the efficiency. But it takes a lot of work to make it happen. And one of the people who knows this inside out and has known this for decades is Matharani Mathias, an old friend, and I'll refer to her as Rani. Though I'm sure in her class, she's one of those people who is revered, looked up to, and admired by a whole lot of her students who come from different kinds of backgrounds. And by the time she's finished with them, they're ready to enter the world and shine in it. Let me bring Matharani on board and begin the show. Hi, Rani.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Renu. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So, I think just before we started, we were talking about how you said that you told people to take a selfie. Why don't you go over that again? Because I think that's a wonderful instance of how much of change comes into a person's life.
Okay, when I meet my students, usually on the first day when we have an orientation for them, my first thing that I tell students is kindly take a selfie of yourself outside the college now with the way you are. And keep it with you. And if you need it, take one every year at different intervals. But take one at the end when you finish college, and then note the difference in the person that you have become. And I think that's the most joyous time and occasion that you will have about yourself, and that's really made a lot of difference, because I must tell you there were some students who would walk into my office on the first day and I would say, "What's your name?" And they would not even understand what I was trying to tell them, because most probably they were from vernacular mediums. But by the
Right.
time they were in fourth year, they could walk into my office and complain. And I would look at them and say, "Wow, I'm so happy you can do this. I feel so good about it."
Wonderful, Rani. And I don't think there are too many professions where this before and after is evident. I mean,
Yes,
if you've, let's say, done a course in mathematics or you've done it in physics or any one of those, year one to year four, there's probably no difference in you when you see
absolutely.
people. But
No,
so tell me,
absolutely. Hmm.
yeah. So tell me, where did this whole interest begin? How did you decide in your life that
Okay.
catering is going to be what you wanted to do?
Okay, good question. In fact, when I was in high school, now I'm from the small town Mangalore, which hardly anybody knew about. I'm talking way back in the 80s. I always wanted to do something very different from what everyone else was doing. There was no engineering and medicine for me.
Right.
And I wanted to do management. And I wanted to get out of this town. Let me be very honest. And it was my mother, I must tell you, who was an educator, and she was the one who had found out about hotel management in Bombay, and she had found out all these details, and she had told me about it in the eighth standard when I was in the eighth standard. And since then, I decided I was going to go to Bombay. That was it. From the eighth
Okay.
standard, I said, I'm going to do hotel management. And anytime anyone asked me what you're going to do, I said, hotel management, they would look at me and say, "What, you're going to become a waitress?" I said, "I don't care. I am going to do hotel management." And that's how actually, I ended up going to Bombay from a small town like Mangalore. When after my 12th standard, absolutely green in the years, had no idea what a big town was always a small town girl.
So, okay, then I'm saying, so this is very relatable. When you went from Mangalore to Bombay,
Yes.
what were your first, do you have recollections of? So, Rani, one of the things that I wanted to tell you is that there will be comments that I can put up from
Okay.
time to time. You can
Uh,
reflect, and
I
people can
want
ask you questions, which
that. Okay.
is,
Uh,
one of the things that is good about a live show, that the
okay.
interactions are possible. Yeah,
All right.
sorry. So what
Yes.
was it like when you reached Bombay, and what were your first impressions?
Okay, I was this super confident person who has said I need to take on the world and I need to take it on outside my house. Okay. So I was from the point go, I was raring to go. And I said I was going to take part in every activity of the college. I was going to get to know as many people as I possibly could and learn from everyone.
Okay.
And oh my God, to tell you the fact, there was so much of learning, and I must tell you, I'm so grateful to some of the teachers, some of my seniors, even my juniors, my own classmates, who in their own little ways made so much of a difference. And if I was doing something wrong, they would tell me this is not the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it. I remember there was a teacher who literally can you and I have to tell you this because from a small town like Mangalore in 1982 when I went to Bombay, I had no clue that there were different shoes one had to wear. All right, at different occasions. So I walk into my classroom with the so-called Bata chappals, and this teacher makes a comment in the class and he says, "Nobody walks into a class with Bata chappals. They are bathroom slippers." To date, I have not forgotten that. I was a little hurt and I kept looking down and pretending, I was not wearing them. But, sometimes we need to listen to what other people say so that we will change. I noticed, of course, at 18, at 6, 17, 18, you also have a very big ego. Okay,
Yeah.
and really hate it when somebody tells you that what you're doing is
Right.
wrong. But we need to listen if we really need to change. And I'm so grateful now. I must tell you, on the first day when I went to see the college, there was this one girl who showed me the college, and she was my senior. But she took such good care of us, something that you will not see in any other college. Took us around, showed us the whole place. Of course, she's pure and she's my friend for life. She also was my bridesmaid subsequently. But what I'm saying is, the first impression I got there was people care. And that is what you really need to pay forward, care for
Right.
people.
Right. Right. So, in the classes during the 4-year course, was there something that stood out for you as to, within catering or within the entire business of hospitality? This
Okay.
is what I'd like to do.
Okay. When I did my program, there was only diploma programs. Okay.
Okay.
Up to about, I think, 85, there were only diploma programs available in hotel management. And
Huh.
I was very, very interested in food and beverage service, as well as
Okay.
to a slightly lesser extent in front office. I
Okay.
certainly didn't want to do cooking at all. I remember in the first year, not first year, second year, when we had to do some compulsory training, and there were internship interviews. I told the Taj, so the Taj had come in, and I remember telling that manager, she said, "Would you like to join the kitchen?" I said, "I don't want to work in the kitchen at all." Amazing. Sometimes you'll say you'll never do something. And I really was not keen on the kitchen, though all my practicals, I looked at them as lab and I really did learn everything. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. And, I think this is the thing that people on the outside rarely see, the amount of work that goes into keeping a place and maintaining it, and the standards that need to be adhered
True.
to.
No, and see, that is where, and that is the whole thing. See, the glamour in our industry is for the guest. Now,
Yes.
the person who's providing that glamour needs to work so much harder to provide
Yeah.
that. Okay, so we really need to have it's an attitude, actually speaking. One is, of course, the skill part. So the
Right.
skill competencies are very important. But I think mostly the two things that will really stand you in good stead. One is an attitude that you will
Right.
do something and you need to care for somebody else, that you will try and please them as within the boundaries that are there for you. And you're willing to go out of your, out of turn to help someone feel wanted and happy. That is one. But there also is a lot of skill one needs to learn so that you can do things fast.
Hmm.
And that is something that I think I learned at the catering college. I remember this one incident. We used to have something called housekeeping practicals, and they were for examinations. For one particular examination, they gave me a window to clean, which was, full of, if I'm not concrete, on a glass window. I looked at it and I said, I'm just going to give up. That was my first thought. I said, who was ever going to be able to clean this? And this was an
Right.
examination. That was my first thought. And then I sat back and I looked at that window. I said, how can I say I'm not going to do this? If this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to do it for the best of my ability. And I must say, I got the highest marks then, mostly probably for the attitude that I had that I was going to clean that whole thing. And that always comes back to me when I'm thinking that has helped me in good stead. Sometimes when you look at things, it looks like a huge problem, and you say you're going to do it at all. Then you think back and say, okay, this is a problem. There has to be a solution to it. Let's see
Yeah.
how I can do my best for that.
Right.
And that's an
Right.
attitude. See, that's an attitude you learn. And that is what you want everybody who's in the industry to imbibe. And that is what we really do in hospitality schools, really speaking. Give them the right kind of attitude for the work that they're doing, whatever it is that they're doing.
Right. So I'll just take a small break to show you the number of fans who you have.
Wow. Oh my God.
And
That's lovely. Oh, I'm
okay.
grateful to all of them who are there because I have to tell you all, I can't see you now, but I have to tell you, each of you has made such a lot of difference in my life. There are some things that I've learned from each and every one. I can't name them here, but at every different stage of my life, people have really helped me, and I'm absolutely grateful.
Okay. So let's say you finished your diploma in catering from Bombay.
Correct.
Then what were the things that were going on through your mind as to what is it that you'd like to do next?
Okay. And I'm always one of those without the box thinkers, not even outside the box thinkers, without the box thinkers. Now, I had decided that I'd seen Bombay and I had worked in Bangalore. See, I have to tell you, see, one good thing about hotel school was in the 80s when I was there, and I was in college from 82 to 85. Every year for a month or two, I worked in a hotel because
Okay.
that's wonderful. Though they called us interns and trainees, it was a great experience of what's really going on, and it's also a good way to network. So, in the first year, I trained in West End, which was that time with the Spencers. Now it's with the Taj. In the second year, I trained as a waitress at Rangoli. It was a small restaurant in
Okay.
NCPA. Beautiful. And by the time I was in the third year, I decided now I've had enough of Bombay. I've seen Bangalore. I want to go to Delhi. So I
Okay.
only appeared for interviews that were all coming in from Delhi.
Okay. Okay.
And luckily for me, all the headquarters of all the major chains like ITDC, ITC, Oberoi's were all in Delhi. So that made a lot of difference. And we used to have campus interviews. And I must say, I think I got into all those campus interviews. And finally, of course, chose ITC Welcome Group because Welcome Group then decided that for the first time, in fact, most of the hotel chains would never take diploma holders as their management trainees. Somehow they would only take graduates till then. It was Welcome Group who decided that they would first come and try out the diploma holders to see how we would turn out. So we were the first batch. We were three of us who got in from the Bombay Catering College. Totally, we were a batch of 12 of us from the various colleges as well as some in-house people from ITC. So we were 12 of us as the first what they called as hotel executive trainees. And so
Okay.
I landed in Welcome Group, Maurice Sheraton in Delhi. And so when my dad said, how is it that you're getting all the jobs in Delhi? I was telling him, what to do, Dad? All the headquarters are in Delhi. So that was my story.
Okay. But as a trainee, how did you handle difficult customers? It's one thing to see it with experience, but when you're out on your own, you don't have, the experience of, and you come across a particularly rude or an unfeeling customer. How did you
Okay.
manage?
Okay, I have to give you a little brief of what this training was all about. All right. And I think that was one of the best things that I really went through, like kind of molded my entire ideas of what and how to look at this industry. So they put us through there were a few classroom sessions because, we were like these waves from all these colleges, diploma colleges. And so they had to kind of get us into the culture of what Welcome Group was all about, which was very good. Then they put us in every department. And I must tell you, I worked in the kitchen, in front office, in housekeeping, in food and beverage service, also in engineering, kitchen stewarding, departments you may not have heard, food and beverage controls, and stores and everything. Okay, and
Okay.
to such an extent that they also they told us one thing very clearly. Says when you're working, we will give you the jobs of everybody, including the bellboy. I've also done the job of a bell girl. It can't be called a bellboy,
Okay.
so I was the bell girl.
Right.
And the job of a room attendant. All right. So what it makes you do is this: that when you're doing that job, you're not going to do it for the rest of your life. You're going to do it just for a week. But the best part about it was you internalize what you feel when you're
Okay.
doing those jobs which nobody really wants. They're totally thankless jobs, nobody sees them, but if those jobs are not done correctly, you cannot do service and you can't provide the luxury to the guests. And I kept it all with me, and I have such great regard for people who have to do it for the rest of their life. It taught me how to deal with those people. That is one. Secondly, it also taught me how to do things right.
Mm.
See, because that's very important. How to do things right the first time, so
Mm.
that you can kind of guide them. The other thing that was also done during this training program was, so one day we were in housekeepers' uniforms, these maids, chambermaids uniform. Next day we were in managers' uniforms. So the same guest who saw someone, you were there in that uniform yesterday, and today you're in a manager's uniform. So we had to show our badges, say, "Oh, we are hotel management trainees." So it's a very good experience. And my first day in the kitchen, I have to tell you this, they put me in the butchery. And
Yeah.
butchery was one department. I need to tell this to people because butchery is one department in the hotels where all your meats are taken and cut to the kind of sizes or shapes that you need in the hotels. So on the first day, they said, "Oh, aa gayi bandi." Or this lady, their attitude was, "You're going to become a manager. You better learn how to do everything."
Right.
They gave me 250 chickens. They told me
Wow.
you need to skin these in 1 hour. And they had
Yeah.
this look on their face that you're never going to be able to do it, girl. Let's see how you do it. Unfortunately, they didn't know what Rani Mathias was all about. I was Rani practice then. When I did it, of course, the next day I was massaging my arms, but when I did it, I felt good. Then the respect they had, that here's a person who really knows what she's doing. And that's the reason why I keep telling people learn the skill. It's very important. A skill is very, you may not need it, but when you need to show people, that's what will hold you with instead.
Yeah. So we'll take another, like I said, I'll take the short. I won't cut into your answers, but I'll just show you what
Yeah.
is it that people have been saying.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Okay, one more. Yeah. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
very evident, Rani, that you have a lot of fans. And I think your own ethic, your own work ethic, and your skill has defined how you approached this whole this thing. So
Yes.
let's say after this welcome group, how long were you at welcome group?
I was with them for 3 years. Okay, let me tell you why. Of course, I trained with them at Moria Sheraton and then got posted to Chola Sheraton. And my first posting, I think you need to know, that was in 1985. No, not 85, 86 in November. My first job really was that of a nightclub manager. I was not even 22.
Wow.
Okay, and oh, I have to tell you this story. So I'm not even 22, and I'm a nightclub manager. I celebrate my 22nd birthday in the hotel. Uh, and one day, and that too on Christmas night, all my staff, okay, there are guests waiting. In fact, I was in charge of this restaurant called Sagari. It was a very well known nightclub in Chennai then. That was
Right.
Madras at that time. And one night there are guests waiting. All my waiters and the captains, everyone decide to just not do anything. So there are tables which have not been cleared. People are waiting and everyone's doing their own thing. So I decided, no, this is not happening. I can't have it. So I went around and clearing tables, setting the tables, not saying anything, taking the orders, seating them all off, and just continuing as if nothing had really gone wrong. Believe me, Venu, the next I've never had any problem in that restaurant after that because they could not believe, okay, that here was someone that young who could actually do whatever was needed in the restaurant. So
Yeah.
that was my first thing. So I worked in when I was there. I also had to move to front office because I got married then in 1987, and I was doing this crazy shift. I have to tell you, when I joined Chola, we were just three managers in food and beverage service. We used to have complaints in the room service. So all the managers said, sorry, one of us always stays back in the night and handles room service in the morning. So on the day, and they looked at me. Nobody even thought, okay, here's a woman, she needs to go home. Nothing. In fact, those days there was gender parity. All right. So I said, fine, I'll stay back in the night, and in the morning I will take care of room service, and then come back to my restaurant in the afternoon as well as in the night. And this went on. I think till about 2 weeks before I got married. So I had to
Wow.
then go to the general manager and say, this is not happening. So I'm leaving for now. And then when I got married and came back, then they said, please come. And then I joined front office. So it was a totally different thing. I was there as assistant manager, doing what is called as an afternoon shift from 1 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the night every day. And then was shifted to Mangalore in Mangalore, Welcome Group, Mangalore. And that's when I was expecting my little fellow. So I think I was walking around with this huge stomach in the lobby, and the guests could see my son kicking. They would feel so bad. And that's when Welcome Group had started workshop. And they desperately needed teachers to teach. And then my general manager said, I think you better go there and teach instead of walking around here in the lobby and all the guests getting worried. So I moved to Waksha then to teach students front office. So I think I started teaching, if I'm not mistaken, in 1988, beginning of 88. So I have, really speaking, had the luck of teaching the first 5 batches of Welcome Group School. Effectively, I should say the first 5 batches of hotel BHM, what they call as the Bachelor of Hotel Management in the entire country, because only Mangalore University had BHM then.
But tell me, did this taking the initiative
Yeah.
come instinctively, or was it
Okay.
something that you realized that it had to be done?
Okay. With me, I realize, see, I'm one of those persons, I don't sit there and grumble about life. I have one motto in life. You have only one life to live, so live well. There's no point in wasting your energy on things that you cannot change.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's really no point. You will get angry, yes, and I was very angry when I had to quit the hotel line, and because my child was born, my husband was sailing, and believe me, I was angry. It's not that I wasn't angry with myself and with the situation that I was in, but then I realized, what is the point of being angry? Life is still to be lived. And what else can I do? Believe me, I never wanted to get into teaching. In fact, in college, when somebody, tried to sound me out in the final year, saying that, would you like to teach? I said, I will never teach in college. I will never teach. In fact, I should, this James Bond movie thing, never say never again. That is my
Yes,
tagline. Yes. Whichever
absolutely.
all that I've said I'll never do, I ended up doing in life. So what happened was, then I realized, of course, wisdom also dawns, when you sit back and start thinking. I said, there's no point in trying. Let me just do the next best thing. If I can't be in the industry, I've learned so much. And since Mangalore had started hotel management colleges, in fact, Mangalore was the first place to start hotel management college. I have this funny story. I was one day teaching in one college. By the end of the week, I was teaching in all the hotel management colleges in Mangalore.
You must
Yes,
have been one of the few really qualified and trained and experienced
absolutely.
people
I
in
was
that
the
city. Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, somebody told me you're overqualified, ma'am. I said, I don't mind. I just need to do something. And that was an amazing. And that's when I realized, okay, I can teach. This teaching is something very, very different. All right. Industry is very different. Teaching is, you kind of have to sit back and think. Remember, you're in charge of somebody else's life effectively. What they're going to learn. There's a lot more responsibility there. Most people don't take that. I used to see my mother doing it. Because my mother's was an educationalist and a teacher.
Right.
I remember how much of trouble she took with the students, with the teaching. She would prepare every day for her classes, and that is something that I did. Even after 20 years of teaching, I would never go into a class without preparing for the class.
Ah. No, I'm
Yes.
saying these are the things, and it is obvious. So I'm
Yeah.
saying again, let me just and right. So the person who vowed that she
Uh,
would never teach ended
yes.
up
Teaching.
teaching and became the center point of her life. So, what was it like in the initial years in Sarosh when you took over? You must have been one of the youngest principals ever.
Yes, don't ask about that. In fact, I'll tell you what had happened. When I was called to see the college and be the principal, I looked at this person who called me and I laughed and I said, never. I kept quiet about it. I was barely about 27. And then I went to my mother one day, and my husband was sailing then. And I went to my mother and I said, these Hegdes have actually called me to run the college. And I said, no. She looked at me and she said, are you nuts? And then these are the words she used. She said, are you nuts? She says, you are qualified. Okay, nobody gets asked for something like this. All right. And they're the best people to work with. Why do you not just take it up? So when she told me that, I said, okay, let me think about it. And I went for the interview. I still remember. I told you they were all looking at me. I had half a mind to tell them, I'm just come here in place of my mother. I also had parents who come and asked, so where's the principal? I said, no, she's just gone out. So then I went and told them very, very clearly. I said, see, I have really not run an institution. I am an administrative person. I'm from the hotel industry. One thing I can tell you, I've taught in so many of the colleges. I know what not to do. I may not know what to do, but I certainly know what I should not be doing. And another thing I told them, I said, see, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes when I'm going to be there. I want you to stand by me. Please, in front of my staff and my students, please stand by me, strongly. You can take me into the office and say whatever you want to say and, pace me, but in front of my staff and students, please stand by me. And I must tell you, that Mr. B.R. Hegde, who was our trustee and my mentor especially, he told me one thing which I really, I thought it was so wise. He said, Mrs. Mathias, he said, only people who do nothing make no mistakes. People who do things, okay, people who do things will make mistakes. Only
Yes.
thing he said, it's okay, you make your mistakes, but please tell us whatever you have done so that we will be able to match. Which I thought was very good. So I would tell him everything. I said, see, this is the mistake I've done now, help me. sort this out. Or before I would do something, I would actually go to him and say, is it okay? We're going to try and do something like this. And he would say yes, and it would be a totally different perspective. And at this stage, I must tell you, very few people are very lucky to get very good mentors. Okay, I've been very lucky to walk, I must say. Whenever I've needed someone, some help has just come way. And I think that's what I'm really grateful for. I remember in college, one or two teachers, there was one Mr. Shetty, at the right time, he kind of mentored me. He may not even know about it, but he did. There were some teachers who were like, who just motivated you even without knowing that they motivated you. Some of my own students have come and told me certain things. Say, ma'am, this is not right what you're saying, and I've accepted it, which is fine, because sometimes you do things and you're on a different level and they're on a different level. So I used to have one rule. I say, these are the rules we will have in the college. If you think they're redundant, we'll take them off. Please convince me. But if you cannot convince me, I will convince you. And once there's a rule, the rule is sacrosanct. And I will monitor. And I will suppose. And then I also told them another thing. And I said, see, let's follow the rules of the world, because you're all going to get into business. And the rule of the world is this: you're not a thief until you're caught. Okay, once you're caught, once you're a thief forever. So you need to be very careful. Now, if you do things and I don't know about it, good for you. That is the way of the world. I'm very happy for you. But if I get to know about it, you're crucified. And one or two of them gave themselves on platters to be crucified.
Okay. So, when you were teaching students at Sarosh, tell me how the curriculum evolved or how your teaching evolved. What are the changes that you've seen over time?
Okay, all right, Anna. This is like now. This is where I am one of these people. I think like when I always keep telling people, if I ever tell you, shall I tell you what's on my mind? Please say no, because I am somehow hardwired. I am somehow hardwired to tell the truth the way I see it. Okay, and I will explain why something is wrong. But there's one more thing that I learned when I was in Welcome, which I think was very, very important, and that would be very important for everybody who's listening here. On the first day when we joined Welcome Group, the Mangalore development manager, who was Sudhir Andrews, he came to all of us and he said, "You are now managers. We will treat you like managers. So you need to start thinking like managers." And the difference between staff and managers is only this: the job is the same, but the difference is in the thinking. So managers will come with solutions to problems. We may not accept your solution, but come with the solution, because that shows that you're thinking. And I think that really stood in very, very good stead. And that was the same thing that I told the students also. Okay, so when I came into the college, I looked at the syllabus and I realized it was purely pathetic. Pathetic in the sense that, okay, it wasn't hoteliers who had done the syllabus. Students were doing financial accounts, that of CAs in a 3-year program, marketing of marketing managers, engineering of engineering students. Okay, and they were not doing enough in terms of what hotels really require. So I wrote a 6-page letter to the VC.
Okay.
Okay, I joined in 92. In 94, I wrote a 6-page letter to the VC and mentioning exactly what was wrong. It was a 6-page letter. What was wrong, how to correct it, and the person that I also said in the end, since I've opened my mouth, I'm willing to be part of the change.
Wow. Okay.
He called
You're
for
following exactly what you said. Come with
yes.
solutions. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you're going to manage, provide a solution.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
he could not, I think the VC actually read it. All right. And this happened when somebody came to check our college institution. And I have to tell you this. So the person who came to check, because all our colleges are, there's a commission, the inquiry committee that comes in. And so the head of this committee told me, he says, "Ma'am, is there anything that you want changed in the program?" So I told him, "Sir, I'm willing to write and tell you." And this was in the evening. He says, "I'm meeting the VC tomorrow morning." This was at 6 o'clock in the evening. So I said, if I take the trouble of actually telling you, he said, you need to give it in writing. I said, if I give it to you in writing, will you hand it over to the VC? He said, yes. So I
Okay.
stayed back. In those days were typewriters. There was no computers. I
Yeah.
stayed back, I typed it and I gave it to him. And the VC called for a meeting within a week. And he said, is this true? Called all the principals. And everyone said, yes. He says, why was I not told? Okay,
Wow.
and I'm so grateful to that VC. And then he looks at me straight. I'm this youngest young punk among all these teachers. He looks at me and says, since you opened your mouth, I'm putting you in charge. You get it all sorted out the way you think it needs to be sorted out within a month, and we will bring it into the next semester, in the next academic year. And he did that. And
Okay.
I must tell you, our the Niti Education Trust, our president, Mr. Vinay Hegde, when I told him this was happening, he says, "Go ahead, do it. We will give you all the resources you require. Don't worry about the expenses." And we were sitting for 1 month. That time they needed 50 copies, cyclo style. I can't tell you.
Yes.
So we were sitting, we were giving breakfast, lunch, dinner to anybody who was there who was doing the work, but we were able to bring in the change. So Venu, and I keep telling people this, and I tell my students also this. When you are in a position to bring about change, when you know that something is wrong and you know how to correct it, open your mouth. Okay, tell people. Okay, you never know when somebody is listening and you can bring about the change. A problem, I think, is where people do not care enough or they're too scared to, bring about the change. So that is what I would actually tell you.
I think that's the crucial part, that a lot of people have solutions, or they say they have solutions, but they're
Yes,
not prepared to put in the work to make those solutions
absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. And you need to
So,
go that extra mile, really.
yeah, it's one thing to say this is what is wrong.
Yeah.
And then the question is, so what are you going to do about it? And then that's the point at which a lot of people step back and then say, no, that's not my
Yes.
problem.
And for that, I'm really grateful to that Mr. Sudhir Andrews. I don't know where he is now, but I'm so grateful for what he told us. And we were, I think, about 25 of us listening. I don't know whether everyone took it to heart, but I thought that was one of the best things, best learnings ever. And so I personally believed, and this is what I will do. If I know it can be changed and I can be the agent of change, I will go ahead and say. Now, of course, I'm older. I don't have that zest. I don't
No, but
have
I
that
think
energy.
you have. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this thing of a culture,
yes,
how do you think the culture of a place is reflected by the person who's heading it,
yes.
or is it something where it comes down as a set of, okay, this is how we do things, or do you think that it keeps changing with time?
Okay, that's a good thing that you asked me. I must tell you, when I started the college, I first got hold of, we were just three, four of us. When we started with 12, 11 students, the 12th one joined the second year.
Wow.
We were 11 students when we started late. There was one secretary, and I must tell you this. We were two of us teachers. There was another part-time. There were some part-time teachers, and there would have been one attender. When we started the college in the first year, I only told everybody one thing. I said, I'm from the hospitality industry. I do not know how colleges are run. I don't want to run the college like all other colleges are run. We are going to bring in the hospitality culture. And so this is what we're going to do. We're not going to be pressing the bell for the peon. The peon's not coming in. He's got his own jobs to do. Let him do his own job. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, I even went to Mr. Hegde and I told him, please give me a computer. I will type my own letters because this is ridiculous. I'm not going to dictate the letters, then correct what she's doing, the typing. I would rather do them myself. It
Do it
saves us a
myself.
lot
Yeah.
of time. It really saves us a lot of time. The other thing that I told everybody in the college, as the college grew, and I said, I told all the staff, I said, when you're meeting parents, okay, and when you're meeting students, let's not have this government attitude. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but being very honest. Let's not have this attitude saying that, let's not go on a path route. Let us put everything together. Tell them this is what you need to bring. Bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's give them a time. And let's finish it up within that time because everybody's time is important. And I said, look at every student, and this is what I keep telling. See, we are a self-financing college, and I said, look at every student as your salary. It makes a lot of difference. Okay, the minute you look at everybody, every customer as your salary, every student as your salary, you look at everyone, your entire thinking changes. So let's have a hospitality culture. So I would allow anyone to walk into my office and say anything. Only thing is, I made very sure I told the students you have to learn a few things. Knock on the door. Okay, say may I come in and say good morning, madam, or good afternoon, madam, or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
these simple things that you learn. And you have to, if you're writing a letter, write it properly and bring that. I've had people, I've corrected them. This is, you need to correct, go write it again and bring it back. All right, and I had people just walking and I said, will you please go out, knock on my door and please come in. And
Yeah.
that's the only way to learn. And that is the reason why I think this culture needs to be brought in, okay, by the head of an institution. I think that's really very important. And I'm happy that it's continuous. See, ours was also a hospitality industry, so it was easier. It was much easier.
And
And it was
it's
easy for me because I came from the hotels, not from
okay.
academics. Yeah.
And Sarosh, the institution has always been self-financed. The students pay their full fee.
Yes, correct. So the
Okay.
students pay, which is perfectly fine. I have nothing against that. Okay, they're all going to be working. That is perfectly okay. It was a self-financing college. We received everything. In fact, there was a joke in this college that I realized I'd gone to Singapore many years ago, and I said I love the fine culture because there's only one thing that students understand, and students understand fines. Okay, so I would tell them these are the rules. You don't follow the rule, I'm going to fine you, but I'm going to receipt you. I'll give you a receipt for the fine. And that receipt, okay, and that I told them would go into what is called as the student activity fund. All right.
Okay.
And we would bring out a college magazine, and I told them on the last page, we will write your names as saying that we thank our sponsors. Now, please explain to your grandchildren when you show this book as to how you sponsored it.
that that is a really neat sponsorship idea. The
Absolutely.
unwilling sponsor, and
Absolutely.
somebody will never forget why their name is in that particular
Correct.
page.
Exactly. And so what happens is, see, they don't believe you in the beginning. So they break the rule. So you need to be very firm the first time. So if you're very firm for the first two times, then the message passes down. And this is how it happens. So the message goes for the first 3 years. Then, the people forget. Then somebody else on the fourth year will try again, and you again do the same. So that
Okay.
really works.
See, the other thing, Rani, at least as far as, let's say from 20, 30 years ago versus today,
Yes.
um, the obsession with placement,
Yes.
I don't think it was as strong as it was 20 years ago. People kind of felt that they could get a job, and today. So, how
Yes.
do you, what is the change that has happened there? How
Okay.
have you managed it?
Okay. Let me put it this way. I've always believed, and I told the students this because many parents would come and say, are you guaranteeing a job? And my simple thing was, if I had to attend the interview, I would guarantee you the job. Okay. Let me do it. I'm not giving you any guarantees. But what I will guarantee you is this, that if your student follows whatever we are doing here in the college, all right, and if he follows, takes part in all the activities, takes part in everything that is there, I can assure you, I said, I can guarantee you that he will be employable. Now, this is something we really need to go from getting a job to be employable. There are two
Yes.
different things.
Yes.
See, having a job is not security, being employable is security.
Yes.
And believe me, and I'm really very happy to tell you, I've had students who thought I was a tyrant. And believe me, in my younger days, I was a tyrant in the college. I was really a tyrant, but I would also explain to them why I would do certain things. Because college was sacrosanct. And I must say that at some of their functions, I've also taught them how to dance. But that was behind the thing. Because we are a hospitality institute, I don't think you needed to stand on your high horse and say you're a teacher or I'm there or I'm a principal. That doesn't work anymore. That's the culture that doesn't work. So
Yeah.
what you do is that you give them skills. And how will you give them skills? And this is what we've been doing in our colleges. And this is what I did. We have different activities for different levels of students. Like I tell you, our first years will conduct, maybe on a hospitality day, they will go to an ashram and feed them. They will cook. And they're pulling in the money. So what happens is it's nice for them also to know what there is another lot of kids, okay, who cannot afford. And so you're also getting empathy, you're getting them to, know other students. The second years are supposed to conduct a inter-collegiate competition. The third years, of course, they do a team dinner where they will plan everything just like in a restaurant. And the final
Okay.
years will have different. So you need to have activities. That is what you really do, so that you can get them to be made employable. And I think that's sorted out. Really.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing point. Again, let's take a small break.
Oh my God, Iron Lady, somebody calls me. I was. Oh, that's a teacher who was with us. Early, Srikantan. Absolutely, learned so much from you too. Okay, he says I was a great boss lady. I don't know, but then I think that's something that I need to tell you about. When one is a boss, I think mostly that's something I learned from the hotels. Was
Okay.
was it you when you know people are good? Okay, you need to give them the freedom to go ahead and do whatever they are capable of doing.
And this is something
I
that
think we've
not,
gone off.
I mean, I know for sure that I'll give this a double vote. That
Mm.
you are a super chef as well. I think at some point we'll. So
Super
we never.
share.
So, no, I'm saying that's really one of those things where being a great chef, in addition to being all of this, because yes, it is part of the overall hospitality industry, but for some people, that alone is a passion. Or they say, I like
Yes.
interacting with people, or I like
Correct.
this aspect of the entire thing. But the entire experience is not, it's a combination of all of these things. It's not,
Yes.
you can't just take one ingredient. You can't take a great dish and say, I like only this aspect of it. Sometimes
Yes.
that has to be there, because that's what gives it that depth of flavor, whatever it is that needs to get done.
Absolutely. Very true.
Yeah.
And that is why for me, and this I learned from my mother, I must tell you. And
Okay.
she did tell me, I once watched her taking a class. And one day she told me something, and she was telling the class, they are boring teachers, what do we do? She just told me one thing. She said, even if the teacher is boring, learn to listen, because that will imbibe discipline in you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And no learning is wasted learning. I'm telling you, I really was not interested in cooking at all, to tell you the fact. I was
Okay.
really not interested in cooking. I did it in hotel school only because, it was a very major subject, and there was a recipe, you followed it, it came out very well. But when I joined the hotel and I went and told them, when I told these chefs, I was among 250 chefs, I was the only girl there at Moria. And I went there with this chip on my shoulder. So I'm never going to join the kitchen. And I really don't like cooking. So there was this one chef who said, no, by the time you finish with us, you will really enjoy. And believe me, I really started enjoying. What did they do differently? One is they told me, they made me open my eyes to the real ingredients, which were not available in the college. They taught us technique. They said, make mistakes. I must tell you, I was in 1985. I have taken 2 kgs of, chocolate, which was like lint kind of, really great chocolate. The chef told me, go and melt it. I had never worked with chocolate. I take this 2 kgs of chocolate and put it on fire. That is one
Wow.
thing that you never do. You never do. That 2 kgs of chocolate burnt. I think I got saved from being kicked only because I was a woman.
So it wasn't burnt caramel, it was burnt
Ah,
chocolate.
burnt chocolate. And with anything else that is burnt, you can save it. Burnt chocolate has to be thrown in the dustbin. You cannot do anything with it. You
And
cannot
after
do anything.
all the
That
processing
is
that
what I'm
brings
saying.
it to that level.
True. So it's a totally different level. But I learned that's when I realized I have to ask. If I don't know, you need to ask. There's no
Yes.
shame in asking. And
Yes.
that's when, of course, I really was really interested in food because
Huh.
I was exposed to international chefs. There was a Irish food festival, and I've never tasted such wonderfully tasting Irish food. Till then, all this continental food was very bland. But that's when I realized there's a way to bring out flavor and things, and that is what you really need to do. And then, of course, cooking is good. At least you know what's going into your own food. I think that is something, and I truly believe now is a gender neutral life skill. Learning to
Yeah, that's
cook.
true. That's true.
It is.
And especially today, where, irrespective of where you are, you're a student at some point in time, and rather than eat out or keep ordering, I think
True.
the best thing to do is to rustle up something yourself. And it's got so
Absolutely.
insanely easy to make
Easy.
food. That's the
Absolutely.
other part.
True.
It's become so much easier to make food. The ingredients are available. The devices are available. You can make whatever
Absolutely.
you want.
Not only that, and see, YouTube and
Yes,
social media has
yes,
democratized so much of information. Okay,
yes.
so that is a really good thing, and I don't think anybody should use an excuse saying that I can't cook. Nothing called I can't cook. If you can't cook, you're not looking after yourself. I taught my son to cook is a very good.
Yeah, that's
My
true.
husband also cooks.
Which I would expect.
Yeah.
Because you do, the same kind of management skills that you bring to bear in running an entire organization. I'd be very surprised if you didn't use some of those techniques at home.
Yeah, thank God my husband is not going to watch this show, and I'm never going to let him watch this show.
Okay.
But
Now,
yes,
okay. So, the students who are entering the field today,
yes.
what do you think are what are the things that they have to contend with going forward?
Okay.
Or where do you see them starting, and what are the things that they have to look out for?
All right. But this is what I would see. My thing is for students, I can understand when you come from, upper middle class families, you're coming from, A class cities and metro cities and all that, you're exposed to a lot. What a hotel management program really does is it's like a lifestyle program. Okay, it improves your interpersonal skills. One, it also gives you a kind of a look rather into a view into lifestyle, and it also improves your customer relations.
Right.
And that really stands in good stead, not only in the hotel industry, everywhere. And if you really realize, I must say, we have a batch of 85 students in the final year. Only 25 of them are willing to go for interviews of hotels because they've done their training for 6 months. They really know what hotels are. They're being, taken by other organizations, service organizations at much higher salaries. I think that's what they
Right.
really.
Right.
But this is what I have to tell students. When you come to hotel management, you come with a very open mind. Okay, come to learn, come to change yourself. Because ultimately that is what is, and come with the right attitude. Because that is what will hold you in good stead. And when I say a right attitude, an attitude of caring enough to doing your best. And your best may not be the best of somebody else, but that doesn't matter. It needs to be your best. Secondly, learn to communicate. So there's a lot of communication that you really need to have in this.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we do train them towards this, and so you will see people who can barely say one sentence in the first year being able to do presentations by the time they come to the final year. So that is what.
No, it's amazing because some of these things, for example, handling a particularly difficult customer. Now, you find that if the person is blowing their top off, the best
True.
thing is not to intervene, to allow
Absolutely.
that to just dissipate to the
True.
point where they don't have anything more to say.
Absolutely. We teach them all these things. In fact, it was one of my subject, how to handle complaints. Okay. And my first thing was listen.
Yes.
Listen. Okay, make eye contact. We'll teach you body language to use. Okay, what we call as active listening, empathetic listening, and don't take it personally. See, that's another thing that people need to learn that when you're doing a job, people are not saying things about you as a person. They don't know you as a person.
Yes.
You shouldn't take things personally. They're talking to you for the designation that you have. Because
Yes.
you really kind of get it over a period of time. And you can always help. You know? And the smile is, yes.
Yeah.
So
No,
learning,
this is on the comment. There is another technique that you used, Rani, and
yes.
I'm putting it out there.
You remember your brownie point on attendance. Yes, I know. My God, Mother and Gopal, I can't believe it. I did this to some of them. Yes, I told them if you get 100% attendance, I will give you lunch. In fact, I
Wow.
did that with a group in welcome group. One of my class, my batch of 45 students, they were not even answering the class internal tests and all that. And I'm a very tough cookie. So I said, no, I will only give you the marks for what you deserve and what you've shown, in your test. So, and in the end, they said, what is this, ma'am? I said, see, let me have a deal with you. If all of you get a first class, and they were in Manipal, I said, I will host all of you in my home and I will cook for you. I got to my great surprise, I never thought they would get. To my great surprise, all 45 of them got 65% marks and more. And I had them over at my house, and each one of them told me what they wanted, and I
Wow.
cooked for them. It was a lovely thing. They all came from Manipal.
So they were eating your words for once.
Yes, nice. I mean, that's another thing. If you say you're going to do something, please do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I think there's a wonderful combination of understanding what people will respond to,
Yes,
understanding the skills that they need to master,
true.
giving them the space to figure things out for themselves,
Absolutely.
and then being tough in all the places where it matters again. It's never
Absolutely.
about one thing.
Yes, it's never about one thing.
It's like a perfectly made dish. It has
True.
all the flavors,
Yes. Thank
and they all
you.
come together in a way that people can't forget.
Yes.
And I think, based on. So now, if you were to look back on this thing, what are the points which do you come back as defining? The parts that defined your life. Yes, decisions of career decisions are one part of it, but there must have been occasions, or there must have been certain aspects of when you felt, yes, I think I have done something which has taken
Yeah.
students. So if you remember, or you can share some of them, it'll be great.
Yeah, in fact, I must say, the students whom you never thought, okay, would do well. And I have to tell you this, I think must start here. There was one student who had joined, he had no clue about English. And he was, I didn't think he would be able to do the program. So I actually told his father, and I said, why are you putting him here? You're wasting your money, really speaking. Why don't you put him in another program? He was a Gujarati student. You know what the father told me? And this is to me, and I always remember this. He said, "Ma'am, I have the money. I can put my son in business. I want him to come here so that he at least learn. He's used to a little bit of English."
Wow.
Agreed. He's not going to be able to study. Don't worry about that part. I'm not going to hold you responsible. But if he's within this environment and he learns a little bit of English and he learns to interact with people, that's good enough for me. And he was there for a year. I mean, the student really couldn't manage for more than a year. There have also been students where I have told the parent, please take your child back. I mean, I didn't tell the management then because when you're in a management college, every student matters. But I have actually told a few parents, please take your child back because he'll do much better in some other program. And I must say, those students have really done much better in those other programs. At the same time, I must say there were one or two students who said we can't go through this at all. I remember there was one student who comes to me in a month and he said, "Ma'am, I'm doing everything. I am studying. I'm doing everything. Unlike the others, I cannot. Nothing is showing." So I told him and I said, "Now please don't quote me. He's old enough now and I can say this." I said, "Don't quote me, but please go outside and talk to some girls. in the class. Talk to them as human beings. Okay,
Right.
uh,
Right.
make
Right.
make sense. And a day before the examination, please go to sleep. If you've done all your studying, 8 hours of sleep, believe me, makes a lot of difference. Okay, and believe me, he came back and said, "What you said was right, ma'am." I said, "Don't quote me." Some of them you really need to touch. I remember there was one really brilliant student who was somewhere slacking, all right, and not giving his reports and his book, journals on time. And the time had gone off, and we were very tough, and we said we will not give you the marks. But I caught hold of the student one day, and I said, "See, please do this because I know you're very capable, okay, and I don't want you to lose. I don't know what's going on with you in your mind, but please do this, and I will give you the marks. I will make sure." The student
Okay.
went on to get the first rank for our college, actually. And I'm
Wow.
so grateful for that. See, sometimes, what you have to do is not just the students who are very, very, not doing very well that need your guidance. Sometimes students who are very good also need your guidance. You just need that one word. I call this corridor talk. I think corridor
Sorry.
mentoring I call it corridor mentoring.
Okay.
Okay, I
Okay.
think corridor mentoring is really, really very, very useful because it doesn't come with a baggage. You're not getting someone in the office because when somebody comes into your office and says, "What did I do wrong?" It's just
Okay.
that by the way, you could perhaps do this. And then when students come back to me and say, "Ma'am, we are doing actually they're doing so well." There is this one boy, Joman, who was in Master Chef of UK. Okay, and then he writes back, "Ma'am, I'm in Master Chef of UK." He sends me all this, and thanks to you, I said, "Oh my God, I feel so humbled. I feel so humbled, really, because you did it all because of you. You had the interest, but thank you for making me,
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
your life." So
Yeah.
that is the most beautiful
No,
thing.
really, I think it's always a two-way street. And like you started in the early part, students learn from you because you learn from them. And this bond is something that is very unique because how, and I don't think it can be, reduced to a single statement of this is what I did so that this happened.
True.
Like you said, in a lot of these cases, you may have said something in an offhand way, but
Correct.
because it was the perfect thing to say or it made an impact at that point in time,
Absolutely.
the student changed. And
Yes.
you know like so many, like you said, you were lucky to have mentors. you
Yes.
you were lucky to find people. And but I think what started this whole thing off was your never say die attitude of being pushed into the hardest of situations and then say, not that I can't do it, but let me do the best that I can, and let's see what happens from there. Incidentally,
Absolutely.
how do you clean that concrete, or how much of it did you manage to
Oh
move?
my God, I'll tell you, I looked at it. I took a scrubber. We used to get those horrible rusting steel scrubbers and they weren't
Right.
even the really nice ones.
Right.
I took it and I kept on scrubbing it, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I was determined. I said, "Let me see, this is what I am, and this window is going to show what I am." And it really did. And that, taught me a great lesson.
Okay. I mean, I think it's been a truly remarkable journey, Anani, and I've not realized it's a whole hour has passed,
Yeah.
and it's been as insightful as I thought it would be. Thank you for sparing the time. And from the comments and from the people who are watching, I'm sure there are a whole lot of people who have today come and told you what they think.
Yes.
But there might be the silent ones as well who may never feel bold enough to come out and say things for whatever it is, reasons. But you will always occupy a special place in that. And it's wonderful to have heard from you, Rani. And thank you again for coming on board my first job and giving us a glimpse of your career journey and how fascinating it's been. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Vinu. Thank you for having me, and I wish everyone the very best. Just remember, there's only one life to live and live it very well.
Thank you. So that was Matharani Mathias, and her career journey was another thing that I think a whole lot of students have been a part of. and they've had the opportunity to really learn from her and apply those learnings in their careers. Another week, another episode, and we look at you, we look to meet you next week. Thank you.